Heath.
Stop right there, criminal scum.
I'm glad you mentioned it.
You violated the law. Now listen to this episode or it's off to jail.
Hey, Samantha, can you tell what Heath was referencing?
No.
And you're the Skyrim girl. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
Remake.
Yeah, the remaster.
Remaster.
Came out of nowhere, shadow dropped this past week. After some rumors kind of leaked, but still, big deal.
Amongst prostate exam havers, because they're so old.
Right, the original game came out in 2006. It's been a hot minute. I was trying to, as an appetizer for this episode of Mobius Tubes, a video game podcast. This is episode 121. We'll get into the rigmarole in a second.
That's a character in Oblivion that you're not familiar with.
Oh,
rigmarole,
crap.
yeah.
I'm going to play it, I promise.
I saw the trailer when it came out, which came out of nowhere, released and announced on the same day this past week. Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remaster on all platforms. It looks borderline made from scratch. I think remaster is underselling the level of overhaul they did to that game.
I said remake because I've been seeing people calling it a remake. That's how good it looks.
Visually, it's looking great.
Yeah.
I will be happy to try it someday.
Me too, once they put it on sale on Steam.
As a thought exercise, I don't know if you have any potential things that come to mind, Heath. I was wondering, is this Oblivion remake the biggest video game-related shadow drop release of all time? Has anything more consequential
Day and date
dropped?
No, what was the Nintendo thing that happened? I guess I'm going to have to say yes because I can't remember.
I know that Metroid Prime Remaster was day and date released. Just as a recent example, it was critically beloved, but has nowhere near the cultural relevance of Oblivion. But Hi-Fi Rush came out the same day it was released.
Oh, all right. That's a Game of the Year nom.
Game of the Year nom, a bigger deal. Many more players have probably played this than Oblivion. Apex Legends came out the same day it was announced.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that's new IP kind of, so like the day it came out, it probably wasn't as big of a deal, but it eventually grew into a bigger deal as a free-to-play game that had a lot of penetration. And then I guess my nomination for the only video game-related thing that was a bigger shadow drop than Oblivion is a video game console, the Sega Saturn. In the US at least, was announced and then was declared available for purchase on the same day.
Which is unthinkable.
I don't think it worked very well for them.
You have to have the cachet. If it's a purchase that's more than just a single solitary game, you need to put it in mom's ear months ahead of Christmas.
People need to start saving up. Many retailer partners were pissed because they didn't receive the shipments.
Just so unfair.
This is ancient history. This was in 1995. But I guess a whole console is probably more significant than Oblivion coming out. But Oblivion dropping on the same day, that's a huge deal. That's crazy.
Which am I more likely to play? The Oblivion remaster or the best game on the Sega Saturn? Panzer Dragoon Saga?
You tell me.
I don't know.
Before
we're
my
too
time.
young. Yeah. Hey, okay. How do you want to do this episode?
I'll just more formally say thanks for tuning in to episode 121 of Mobius Tubes. We're recording this on April 27th, 2025. We have a variety-packed episode. We're going to be doing all sorts of topics. We have an email to go over. We have a fun edition of Would You Rather video game style happening in the back half of this episode. Before we segue into our very traditional What We've Been Playing section, I will just say, as a part of current events, hey, I pre-ordered a Switch 2.
Attaboy.
Everyone can thank me for that.
So I'll briefly run through my experience. We live on the East Coast of the US, so pre-orders went live midnight our time. So we had to stay up late. Samantha was there for the whole event and the proceedings. I sauntered over to my desktop. I sat down, and I was fully prepared to end this session not having successfully pre-ordered a Switch.
Because of like bots.
Because of bots.
We lived through the NVIDIAs.
We lived through the graphic card launches.
Switch 2 is a hot enough console.
Yeah, anytime you sit down for a hot new tech hardware item launch pre-order date, you have to go in with some level of skepticism that you're going to get one. But I had a fairly smooth process. It was thanks to Walmart.com that I secured my pre-order.
And I probably could have predicted that. Knowing you would have gone to like, is there any deal? And knew that the most stable inventory is not like GameStop or Best Buy. It's Walmart.
I had Best Buy, Target, and Walmart all queued up, ready to go.
These tabs.
Walmart came through for me. They put me in a very smooth enter a queue system. It said, you wait 15 minutes, and then it'll be your turn to buy one. And it worked pretty well. My credit cards were the only hitch in the system. Both of my credit cards.
Which ones? You want to just rattle them off really fast?
I think one's a MasterCard.
I meant the numbers.
Yeah.
When I tried to secure the purchase, both of these credit cards suspected fraud. But I had to like go in on my email and say, nope, that's me.
Nope.
And they suspected fraud so much, they wouldn't let him make the purchase. And so he was trying to check out the cart. And he was like, what? Now their payment system is down? And it was his card.
I have to imagine I was in the top 10% of Switch 2 pre-order people that day. Top 10% least enthusiastic. Because I wasn't frothing at the mouth at getting a Switch 2. I was just thinking, yeah, it kind of makes sense. I've been meaning to play Tears of the Kingdom. I want to play it someday. And with these tariffs, who knows, maybe the price will be even higher later in the year. I should just buy it now. Maybe I didn't have the raw enthusiasm most would-be pre-orders had on that evening.
I mean, compared to console purchases of our childhood, what's the home video of the boy at Christmas that's like, Nintendo 64? Right. That's the one?
Yeah, that's the one.
The Switch 2, it's not that. But we're all pleased that you got it.
I will be inviting all Mobius Tube's co-hosts over to play Mario Kart World. So we have some impressions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I will dominate. Chris will be like, oh, look at the time. And I'll get kicked out. I'll think to myself, we could just play over that co-streaming me picture-in-picture with the webcam.
With my Switch camera.
And it's like, oh, sorry, Heath. I guess the frame rate's too low. We can't do that.
All right. I think that's all of our intro banter out of the way.
No, I should. Okay.
Oh, okay. We'll keep it on rolling.
An apology to Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey, veteran thespian that you are. I, Heath, besmirched your performance in the Sonic 3 movie. I said your fourth wall breaking ad lib to Dr. Robotnik ruined cinema.
I believe you called it heinous, unwatchable.
I ought to have, until Jack Black's delivery in the Minecraft movie makes Jim Carrey's line feel like Citizen Kane. Alas, poor Uric, I knew him, Horatio. I was too critical of Jim. He really did the Lord's work with where two characters being played by the same actor compared to Jack Black's line. And I haven't seen the film, but in the Minecraft movie, if I recall correctly, it's first we mine, then we craft. Let's Minecraft. And I dropped my phone. That's all I have to say about the Minecraft movie. That and Lava Chicken goes hard. And of course it goes hard because it started to chart in the UK. And it was like the shortest song. Like Jack Black is a musician's actor. That's his first charting anything. So it must be pretty good, but also like a moral dilemma. Any parents listening to this episode, first of all, wow. Second, when you take your children to the Minecraft movie, you need to have the sit down about bad words. Chris, when did you first swear in front of your parents?
I'm hard pressed to remember that. There's a chance my parents have only heard me swear via listening to this podcast.
You know what? I believe that for sure. You do it, you, Samantha.
Probably like 12.
Okay, damn. All right, you're hardcore. The Minecraft movie, what does he say? He says, la 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 lava, chicken. Steve's lava chicken is tasty as hell. And hell rhymes with, ooh, soon you're gonna be ringing the bell. Like, you can't get around the rhyming couplet. I don't know how the Kids Bop version is gonna fix it. You can't just change it to heck. So those are my thoughts on the Minecraft movie. Utter trash in the form of Big Corpo get the product name into the line twice. And then, this catchy jingle is pretty catchy.
I will sponsor a Mobius Tubes podcast field trip to the movie theaters to watch Minecraft the movie.
Oh,
Why would you make that offer?
Achoo. Oh, Chris, I'm coming down with something. Yeah, we're not going to be available.
This is why.
That's funny.
Let's talk about video games, guys.
Let's talk about video games. I'll tee us up before we get into the big Undertale talk, which is coming, I'm sure. Hey, Heath.
Hey.
I beat Dredge.
Yeah, okay. Did you restart from the jump?
I never started Dredge.
Never started Dredge.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is my virgin playthrough.
Dredge, everybody's favorite indie fishing game, not to be confused with the other indie fishing game.
Dave the Diver,
Probably,
which came out
yeah.
the same year.
Yeah, and then there has to be more than just that.
Sure.
But there's no eldritch horrors in Dave the Diver that I'm aware of.
Right, yeah. Dredge came out a couple of years back. Heath kind of championed it at the time. He was a big fan, and I knew I was inevitably going to come to it. Lo and behold, I liked it a great deal.
Talk about a game that could really use the Persona calendar system.
It has a very rigid day-night cycle.
Yeah, but you can at your leisure.
Right. There's no hard deadlines to worry about.
Just before the sun sets.
Yeah. You get crash landed on this island as you're a shipman, a boater, and you have to pay back your debt to the town because they set you up with a new rinky-dink ship and ask you to go catch some fish, bring them back to town, pay off your debt, upgrade your ship, and begin your new life sailing around these like 5 distinct archipelagos in the world of Dredge. And then in the background, there's some weird, a bit of occult, eldritch things you're hearing whispers of that gradually play a larger role in the story. It's mostly a hedonic upgrade treadmill type games where you're going out, hauling a bunch of shit back to town after performing some dexterity mini games and sorting them.
I love the sorting.
Yeah, Tetris style and the limited space in your boat. You bring them back, make some profit, and then make improvements to your ship, be it faster reels to haul in the fish more quickly, or more cargo space, or a faster engine. It's a very tried and tested formula, and it works well here.
Did you bother with the net at all?
The 2 ways you can kind of passively catch fish, be it the net when you're driving around, or the crab pots you can set up and come back to later.
Yeah.
The passive methods of catching, I leaned on heavily. I loved them.
Oh, weird.
You didn't touch them, I take it?
No, I'm trying to get big mama tuna fish.
I really enjoyed using my active time in Dredge, kind of focusing on main quest stories, and then just coming back to see my passive returns on the fish my crab pots had been accumulating.
By the time I come back, I'm full up, maximum capacity.
You see,
I'm ripping out floorboards and headlights.
I will say it took me a little bit of time to figure out the right rhythm of how to use crab pots. I would set up plentiful crab pots right next to a market I would sell things at.
Oh, yeah. Before you even get out that little cove.
Right.
Yeah.
I would establish a home base right where I could sell fish, and then I would throw crab pots all around, and then just grab my goods and then walk them over 3 feet to where I sell them. That was my loop I leveraged heavily in this game. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, kind of in the weeds.
Yeah, pump your sea brakes.
I want to point out, I'm very positive on this game. Some early hour annoyances I experienced in Dredge.
What, did you cyberpunk yourself by spending 9 hours in the tutorial?
No. So you're given this very humble ship at the beginning.
Yeah.
And cargo space is initially at such a premium.
Yeah,
that
it holds 2 flounders and a goldfish.
I'd rapidly be at full capacity after hitting 1 or 2 fishing holes. And then it was time to return back to town and sell my measly haul. So just the very early hour fishing and selling loop in Dredge, it's so abbreviated that it felt kind of unsatisfying to me and a little awkward. It would be over before it even began. However, the effect this has is that it immediately made me start salivating at the prospect of making my ship bigger, of being able to haul more fish. The prospect of upgrading my ship with extra cargo space was so appealing. I imagine this decision was deliberate by the designers to just immediately give the player a motivation to really want to hop on the improvement treadmill and start their grinding journey in Dredge. And to be fair, it really doesn't take too long before performing some ship upgrades are within your reach. It doesn't take that many in-game hours. So kind of a mixed bag there. I will say the one thing that did really annoy me in the early hours, and I wonder if you can think of a solution to this, Heath. I was getting my sea legs. I was maybe out a little later at night than I should have been in the early hours. And I encountered some kind of hostile entities that came for me.
The rocks.
Something a little more active than a rock that came, attacked my ship, damaged me when you hit an obstacle in Dredge. There's a grid of your ship that you can look in your UI, and you'll take some random points of damage on your ship's body coordinates.
It's damn near Battleship.
It's damn near Battleship. And what happened...
Oh, was your prize eel in the bottom corner and it happened to hit the bottom corner?
The damage I took disabled my engine.
Yes. Oh, that happened to me for sure.
Okay. How did you deal with that?
Crippling.
What was your solution?
Well, I think I had engines in duplicate, so it was down the upgrade, so I had the most basic one. I wasn't too far from
home base.
The floaty pontoon, that lady's shop.
Okay.
So it was a nail biter, but it wasn't a multi-day excursion.
Sure. I was a bit far from town when this happened, and I was like, I'm going to die. So I docked at one of those, it was just like a spare dock on a deserted island.
Yeah, where you bring the one guy at one point.
So I hunkered down there to survive the night. And then when dawn broke, my engines were fully gone.
Oh, no.
And I began the Herculean effort of returning back to town so I could pay someone to fix them.
Yeah.
It was probably like 15 minutes of puttering back.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. So I tried to like quit and then re-enter the game, but I unfortunately triggered an autosave at that dock.
Yeah. You were marooned.
I was marooned. And I saw no alternative rather than to just put on a podcast, I don't know, attach a rubber band to my analog stick to go forward and just leave my ship going home.
Yeah, you're totally right. Because if you're in Pokemon and you can't progress, you just kill yourself and then you get warped back to the Pokemon Center.
But I triggered some autosaves. I did not know what to do. It was daytime, so there weren't things trying to kill me.
That's a soft lock, yeah.
I was soft locked into my walk of shame back to town.
Shouldn't you, at the night before you went to sleep, you should have killed yourself then?
I suppose with the power of hindsight, I should have been like...
But his self-preservation, the Moby Dick in his hull was too prized to part with.
I should have committed suicide.
And so was the whale.
And just so we're clear as like how not crazy Chris was being to get this consequence, Chris, I think you told me you boated out like maybe 90 seconds away.
Yeah, I was a quick, breezy 90 seconds with full engine power.
With full engine power.
But, you know, like 12-minute drive back home without engines.
You're paddling it with your arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would have liked the developer on the couch with me, and I asked them, what do I do in this situation?
Yeah, it should be a flare. It should be a flare that you just shoot.
It did take a rather unfortunate RNG roll for it to take out both of my engines, but it happened.
The more fortunate RNG roll would for it to have been to just kill you.
Right, if it had just finished the job.
Yeah.
I did notice what I'll call some wonky balancing around the rate I was acquiring the resources you use to upgrade your ship.
I mentioned this, yeah.
Yeah.
Heath is nodding vigorously. Why is lumber the rarest thing in the world?
Is it?
I think you mentioned lumber by name. I went back to listen to your old segment. To upgrade your ship with more cargo space, with faster engines, with better lighting for night. In Dredge, you acquire 3 or 4 resources like sheet metal, fabric, and lumber are the most common. And you just find them kind of like you fish for them the same way you would. You bring it up onto your ship, you haul it back to town, and you upgrade your ship.
Yeah.
Tried and tested loop.
Yeah.
I was, pun intended, drowning in metal and fabric. I was so rich and flush with them.
I think that's right.
Lumber was always the limiting resource. It got to the point where you'll hit different tiers of ship in Dredge where like, oh, I finally crossed into a tier 2 ship, and upon doing that big upgrade, you'll have a bunch of smaller upgrades that are now available to do. And it's kind of like a cool moment. And you can bank things you're not currently using for the future in your
locker.
storage, your like storage locker in Dredge. And it got to the point where
There's just so many of these crescent metal sheet plates.
right, I would, upon reaching the new tier of ship, I would immediately enter my storage, have enough metal and fabric to fill up all the new upgrades. And I would just be waiting on that drip feed of lumber to come in.
I think, if I recall correct, if you go to like the southwest corner of Greater Marrow, there's always wood.
Okay. Maybe that's a hot tip I never figured out.
I think you and wood were just ships in the night and just missing each other.
There's like a 4th resource for the late game, like a really special
Gears?
metal. A special metal in an L shape, And it got to the point where lumber was still more limiting to me than the special metal.
I can't. All right, if you say so.
I just would have expected in a more regularly balanced game, there'd be parts of my playtime where like metal was the thing that was scarce, or fabric sometimes was the scarce one. It would ebb and flow, but it was just always a dearth of lumber. I mean, I thought that was kind of wonky. It didn't like ruin the experience or anything. It did, every time I was carrying lumber back to town, it did elevate my heart rate because I did not want to lose that stuff.
Are you using your spyglass?
I didn't use it very much.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Because like you could be 12 knots away and just there'll be like little blubbering pools of froth.
And you can identify them from a great distance with the spyglass.
Right. And it gives a silhouette. It's a who's that Pokemon of what kind of fish should be there.
Right.
But then there would be the silhouette of a plank of wood and then you gun toward it. So like you just needed to whip your vision cone around.
There's possibly some user error on my part. I'll admit to it.
A little bit of both.
When I was hearing about Dredge, as I've been anticipating playing it for the past couple of years, of course, what stood out to me whenever someone would describe Dredge was, of course, the occult undertones permeating the game. I mean, don't get me wrong, those elements definitely exist, and they're an important part of the Dredge experience. But I was kind of surprised when I actually got my hands on the game, how cozy and relaxing of a time Dredge proved to be, especially if you aren't staying up too late fishing after the sun has gone down.
Yeah, you just need to tempt fate a little more.
There are some incentives to go fishing out at night when there's more risks around the sea. Like there's some unique species of fish that only emerge at night. But by and large, I successfully avoided the evening hours when I was playing Dredge.
Okay.
And in doing so, I successfully avoided a lot of the potential stress points. I will say this game is on a day-night cycle, and the speed at which the in-game hours pass, they go rapidly, and they would occasionally get me to fall victim to my own hubris as I want to like hit one or two more fishing holes, and by the time I'm done grabbing their goodies, the hour is later than I thought it would be, and I have to do a little bit of a risky drive back to the town. That didn't happen too often. Overall, what I'd like to see from a hypothetical sequel to Dredge is include even more reasons for a player to brave the nighttime hours than the original Dredge had. Put the player in more tense situations and force them to make some tricky risk versus reward decisions as they're tempted to press their luck, staying up later than they should. I just didn't have as many temptations as I would have wanted or expected.
Yeah, and definitely like give me some choppy waves. I want to not 100% know I'm headed the correct bearing.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay, that would dial up my anxiety.
Minimap should maybe static out around 6 p.m. Just make it less easy to fall on like the modern conventions.
I mean, you could just like instead of having a mini map, you could have like a physical map that the boat has and a compass, and that's all you get.
Oof, like Witness?
Yeah.
Overall,
Physical map or like Mist.
I thought Dredge was great. I had a hard time putting it down. I thought it was paced very well, where you're kind of sent to these 5 kind of like archipelago hubs, which loosely serve as the levels of the game. I thought each one took me like 90 minutes to 2 hours to complete, which was timed very well with how long I wanted to spend in a single session playing Dredge. So that worked out really well. I'd sit down, more or less finish an island, and then know I was going to move on to something new on my next play session. So that just kept some great momentum. And yeah, I had a great time with Dredge. Cool tone to this game. Neat little payoffs at the very end for the story. And in conclusion, you, Heath,
Me.
teased Samantha with, hey, did you see Subnautica 2 was announced? I recall...
I'd probably cut that as soon as I didn't get the reaction I wanted. So. Don't tell me there's a Dredge 2 already teased.
I went back and listened to your Dredge thoughts, Heath, and your closing thoughts were more like, you wish it wasn't such a casual experience. You wanted a full-on Dredge RPG. And you might be getting your wish. Have you seen the trailer for a game that was announced pretty recently called Dread More?
Wow. Guys, copy my homework, but change some of the answers.
Yeah.
It is a game...
Oh, Moor?
Yes.
Yeah, dude, I didn't even look that up yet.
The devs on Dreadmore, this looks like a much higher budget affair, and they have explicitly said they were inspired by Dredge. And if you watch the trailer, you will see why.
Oh my God. 8 seconds in, getting the mouth of something.
Coming at you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you see the hook clockwise loading icon? Ripped.
The influences are worn heavily on the sleeve.
Look at these characters.
There's Tetris-style storage.
Boys would rather do anything than play Subnautica.
This is, what did she say? I'm looking at There's even Dead by Daylight engines.
Yeah, dude.
They've played every game.
It looks good.
Look at these like MacGyvered Fallout 4 fishing equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the chromatic aberration. I said that right. Of the insanity vision. Dreadmore.
Granted, there's no release date yet, and who knows, maybe it doesn't come out and it's not a very high quality game, but the trailer impressed.
Yeah, big ups.
Big ups.
I can't wait to play this.
Yeah. It looks like a Heath game for sure.
Yeah.
It's basically called Dredge More. More of Dredge.
It's basically
yeah.
Dredge. But
It's crazy.
Bloodbornean. Yeah.
Well, Chris, while you've been playing Dredge, I've been dealing with the Dredge.
Oh!
Because I've been playing Banner Saga, the first entry.
That's a joke for Banner Saga fans. I love it.
The Dredge are the enemy.
Is that an STI? Oh, okay.
in Banner Saga, generally speaking.
It could also be an STI.
So, Chris, we would describe Banner Saga as a heavily story-based game with a grid-like combat system.
Yeah, turn-based.
Turn-based.
Strategy, RPG.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the Banner Saga games back in the day, and Samantha, on my recommendation, started the first one. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of turn-based strategy, especially when it's like they're on a checkerboard and you're just moving people around. That's my favorite. I love the Fire Emblem series rather famously, and that's more of that sort of combat. Banner Saga basically alternates between two types of game. There's the first where you are making a lot of decisions, reading a lot of lore and dialogue, and you're managing your resources, which come really in one flavor. And that's going to be your renown.
Renown. Yeah.
Renown. And you can spend your renown to buy your characters items, or you can spend it to buy more supplies. If you run out of supplies, your people start dying because you're starving them. Basically, there's one resource to manage, but by God, is it hard to manage. And we'll get more on that later.
It's so useful in so many different ways.
Yeah, there are basically anything you can think of. Oh, in a typical turn-based RPG, I would upgrade this. It's gonna be your renown. To level up people, you need to spend your renown. And that's the same currency that you're using to feed those people. At the end of the game, all of the characters I've been using were ripe to level up, and I had to leave most of them just sitting high and dry, wasting that precious XP or whatever.
What is the world of the Banner Saga like, Samantha?
So, Banner
Vikings.
Saga is all Vikings. It's set in a very cold, harsh north. The setting of this game, it starts out with the sun has stopped in the sky.
What?
This is a post-apocalyptic game in a way. And this has caused a lot of problems for the citizens of this realm, which I don't remember the name of, something Norse-esque. You alternate between two perspectives. One is like a party of humans and Varl. Varl are like really big giants with horns, and then humans are, as you would expect, they're like the two species of the realm, and they're relatively peaceful together, though they have some cultural differences, and it's a little tense. And then there's another group, which is mostly Varl with a couple humans speckled in. That's more like a royal group. They have some high-ranking members of both humans and Varl. And you switch between those two perspectives depending on what chapter you're in. And eventually, stuff happens. Yeah, I could go over characters and specifics, but I don't want to say too much. One of the parties is led by a human man named Rook. He has a daughter, Alette. They are characters you'll deal with a lot, and they are friends with a Varl named Ivor, who's also very important. He's very big and tough. He's great in combat. The other party goes through different leaders. Hakon is the one I think I stuck with the longest. He's just a really big, tough guy who wasn't really meant to lead, but he's kind of fallen into the position, and he's doing a okay job because I'm the one doing it. So.
And the cast is pretty large.
Oh, yes. So one thing about Banner Saga is it doesn't play around with letting characters die. You can make simple decisions that will result in like huge portions of your team dying. That's why the cast is so big, I think, because Banner Saga knows that some of these people are not making it to the credits.
By necessity.
By necessity. They give you quite a large pool of people to choose from for your party. Your party is going to be size 6 I think,
During a fight,
during a fight.
you could choose to make it smaller, I believe.
Oh, God, I guess. So when they die or when they go missing or you skip a dialogue by accident and then you're like, my best guy is no longer in my party. I don't know what happened to him. It's fine. You can just replace him with somebody else. Things about the combat. So the combat in this game is, like I said, it's grid combat. You're ordering your people around. It's very interesting and it's a turn-based combat, but the turns are super weird. No matter what, no matter how many members the opposing party has, no matter how many members you have, it's always going to be every other turn is your turn. So if the enemy only has one guy left, that guy is going to get so many turns because he's going to go after every single one of your guys. And vice versa is true. So a strategy that is really useful to do during these combats is to weaken your opponent so they're not doing any damage, basically, but they're not dead. So they waste turns for your opponent.
Maim everybody, but don't kill them.
But don't kill them, because the damage they do is based on their health. So if their health is at like 1 or 2, they're not hurting your party. They're not doing anything. I don't want to necessarily spoil the final fight per se, but this strategy can and will be used against you. You make so many decisions in this game. It's crazy.
Lots of random events happen along the way with no clear solution.
Yes.
And you have to kind of go by your gut, make a choice. And often the game, it's a harsh mistress. You'll have negative outcomes pop up frequently.
Yeah, you're going to have, at least in my experience, you'll have more negative outcomes than not. I was a pretty generous and kind leader, regardless of who I was. So unless the party was actively threatening me and they asked to join my group, I generally said yes. Did this lead to my supplies getting stolen multiple times? Of course. Did it lead to sometimes my camp members dying? Once in a while. I refuse to bow to the pressure that Banner Saga is putting me under to become a cruel person. If the nameless people need to die for it, then that's their problem. However, I wish it were a little bit more relaxed in the resource management, though that maybe that is coming from a really bad mismanagement I did one time, and then I suffered for it for like 3 chapters. In different towns, you can trade your renown for supplies. And up until this point in the game, it was always about 1 renown to 3 or 4 supplies. It wasn't like super variable. So I didn't know how variable it could be. I got to a town. I was pretty low on supplies. So I was like, okay, I need to stock up.
Gotta spend some renown.
I was like, oh yeah, I have plenty of renown. I spent 30 renown, didn't look at the conversion rate. After my thing, I looked and I was like, that was a 1-to-1 ratio. That's as bad as it can get. That was so much renown. Players of Banner Saga, 30 renown is like a fortune.
Yeah.
That I just wasted.
Pissed away.
And then I literally get to the next town, not even 2 in-game days later, where it's like 5-to-1 supply ratio. And
You have single-digit renown.
Oh, I suffered for the rest of the game. I starved a couple times because I literally just didn't have the supplies. It was brutal. Yes, that was my error, but I wasn't prepared for that sort of ratio. I should have just checked it. The plot remains still somewhat of a mystery to me of this game. I feel like they introduced a lot of threads this game, and I could tell by the end of this game, they were like, we are going to release a sequel. Mm-hmm. This is not the end of this game.
Aren't you talking about Saga 3? What game are we talking about?
We're talking
Saga
about
1.
the Banner Saga 1.
Oh.
Yeah. 2 and 3 are yet to come. So they clearly didn't finish the story here. I feel like with Mass Effect, the other like famous example of like you carry your save through different games.
Yeah, we didn't mention you import saves in this trilogy and you pick up right where you left off.
I feel like Mass Effect, you could tell there was more to the story. There's a next game, but I think it had more of like a traditional story arc where at the end of the first game, I was like, oh yeah, this threat is still out there and I gotta go deal with it. But I also successfully defeated a big threat and that is now taken care of. And you could kind of say the same of Banner Saga 1, but I feel like there was the proportion of there's still a lot I don't know and is out there is much larger than I would expect.
Yeah. The jump from going from Mass Effect 1 to 2, many things changed. Combat is entirely different. It's clearly a separate game, where as soon as you hit start in Banner Saga 2, you're like, oh, I'm right back in it. There have been no changes.
Banner Saga 1, 2, and 3 may as well just be Banner Saga.
Right. One big game.
Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 are Mass Effects 1, 2, and 3.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Lastly, I just want to shout out the fact that there are so many character classes in this game. It's crazy. I do not know them all. They would throw them at you. Almost every new character you got was a new character class. That was kind of insane because I felt like I owed it to the game to at least try out every character class. And sometimes that's like literally hurting your party to do so. So it kind of chafes against the idea of like a well-balanced party, but you also are like, oh, but you just gave me these new mechanics. I want to give them a run. The person I want to shout out as my favorite character class, MVP, his name was Fasalt, and his whole thing was that he had really big defense. He could make an enemy attack him instead of attacking anybody else. So he could essentially distract an enemy. So my battle strategy for a long time when I had him was he would go look at the biggest guy in the group, just kind of take little damage over and over again until all the other guys were dealt with. And then we'd all converge on the big guy and deal with him at once. Unfortunately, he went missing at some point. I don't know what happened to him. If he died, I'm really sad about it. I wish he were on my team.
How can you not know?
Because I was looking at this. I fast clicked past a dialogue and there's no log in this game. So if you miss something, it's gone.
She missed a critical piece of text.
I missed 2 guys went missing after that text box that I clicked through and I didn't read on accident. So I don't know if they're dead.
Maybe they'll appear in the sequel.
I hope so. The other guy was fine. I didn't really use him. But Faisal, if you're out there listening to this, come home.
It sounds like you praised many different parts of the game. Would you say in general, is your enthusiasm for continuing to play Banner Saga, is it motivated more by the combat, where the story's going, or some blend of the two?
I think it's a blend, but mostly the combat.
Okay, interesting.
I'm just happy doing like a grid-based, turn-based combat system. You know, it's all good fun. The story, I feel like, will hook me more when less of it is in the air. I'm like, there's a big guy doing the mountains. I don't know what his deal is.
The best parts of the narrative have yet to come, but that's not a big surprise.
This was definitely the prologue of the story.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I intend to play 2 and 3. I don't intend to play them directly after 1 because I got distracted, but
sure,
they're on my list.
Any comments on how the game looks?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's all, there's no like, it's
storybookish.
It is very storybookish. It's pretty rare for there to be like moving animation, but the still images are beautiful. Very well done.
Characters look like hand-drawn illustrations, I'd say.
Yeah, it like he said, it's very storybookish. It looks like an illustrator made this game.
Right. But as a consequence of its indie game and its budget constraints, there's not a lot of animation per se.
Right, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't detract from my enjoyment of those scenes.
Yeah, you hardly notice.
Yeah. And when you're making decisions, it's not like you're looking at anybody anyway. It's not like you're like, oh, this drunkard, I just watched him pee in front of the children. It's like you'll just get like a text box with a picture of Rook in the corner.
That somehow gained renown.
Sweet. Sounds like a pretty positive time with the Banner Saga.
I liked it. I didn't like the final fight because it was hard, but I liked the game.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we'll transition into Heath, Samantha, and I have all been playing Undertale. How far did you get, Heath?
I've seen 2 endings.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen 2 endings.
Okay.
And Samantha's the Undertale expert here.
I played Undertale several times through.
She's seen every
years ago,
pixel of this game.
I played it through once more, and then I watched Chris do the second ending.
Oh, good.
So I'm all ready.
So we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
How should we tackle this?
Did you buy the Temmie armor?
The Temmie armor? Is that what you get access to after you send Temmie to college?
Temmie comes back from college.
I did not buy the Temmie armor.
He did send Temmie to college, though.
Attaboy. Toby does not want you to buy the Temmie armor.
Seemingly not.
The text that accompanies the inventory item makes fights too easy.
Yeah.
Well,
but
good.
the cost is prohibitive.
Yeah, you got to be killing people to afford that.
Yeah, what were you eating mostly? A lot of dog salads?
Lots of dog salad.
Who led you to the dog salad?
Samantha led me to dog salad, of course.
Well, you happened upon it when you got the residue.
How did you acquire the residue?
you happen upon a legendary artifact and you reach for it, and the game informs you that you are carrying too many dogs.
Yeah. Okay, so you did the piano melody.
Yeah.
Okay,
Chris
cool.
did that as well. He just needed
Right.
a little help.
He is musically talented.
That's definitely reaching that dog residue is definitely off the beaten path. It's tucked away.
I feel like the only things in Undertale that are really off the beaten path is the locked room in Snowden past where the Grifferot.
Chris was obsessed with that room. He kept asking me when we were going to go back.
He was like, what is that lit house? What is this door? And then Temmie Village is actually a little off the beaten,
I
little
didn't
bit.
find it the first time I ever played
Right.
Undertale. Yeah,
Right.
it's hidden.
but it's so valuable
Yeah, it's
because
pretty
it's the
good.
only place you can sell stuff.
Are we getting a little too specific? I played Undertale once many years ago, and this is my return visit, a replay, a much more comprehensive replay. I'll say I've somewhat infamously, when I originally played Undertale, there's a point in the game where the application hard quits itself without you,
Which never happened on the Switch version, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh,
that makes
okay.
sense.
without your permission. And that's where I called it quits in my original Undertale experience 9 years ago.
closed.
And I think that speaks to how I was feeling about the game at the time. I was maybe not thrilled with it. I was searching for an excuse to move on to something else. And when the game offered me an out by closing itself, I was like, well, I think that's enough Undertale for me. I'm happy to report, many years later on this return visit, I've had a much better time. And while I was playing, I had a much greater sense that I was playing a classic. When I first played Undertale, my impression of the game, right or wrongfully, was that it was simply the subversive indie game du jour. I thought the game was garnering so much praise and attention because people found it, oh, isn't it so quirky that in this JRPG, you can choose to flirt with the monsters instead of fight them. And it was kind of blowing up for that viral aspect. So when I originally sat down to play Undertale, and back in 2016, at the urging of my college friends, I probably approached the game with a bit of skepticism and reluctance. I thought it was kind of a flash in the pan. Jump forward a decade, and I think Undertale's relevance hasn't diminished like I suspected it would. I feel like its reputation has only grown over the years. So on this replay, I've approached Undertale with a more patient and open-minded disposition, coupled with the fact that I now have the advantage of built-in nostalgia and reverence for the game's soundtrack, which is a huge plus, and Samantha's guidance through some of the game's more esoteric bullshit. There are now multiple factors contributing to me enjoying Undertale so much more this time around, and I'm happy to come and talk to you guys about it. That's where I'm coming from.
Chris is kind of right. It really benefits from social
Pressure.
the common getting to chat about the game elevates the software itself so much more. I imagine if you tried to play like 1,000 times Resist solo, it would still be meaningful, but it means way more to you if you actually talk to people of different backgrounds.
Yeah, it's a game that wants those discussions.
Right. So same with Undertale. Toby should have put another chest next to New Home's entrance, which I later looked up. It only shows up there in Genocide, which I can understand why it does. But like, if you wanted to go get the butterscotch pie for the Asgore fight so
What
you could
about-
drop his defense a little bit more, you have to go all the way back to either
Okay.
Waterfall.
So I would forget about this as well. Samantha's about to
Was this a
humble you.
PC
I'm about
patch?
to ruin your life. On your cell phone, after Alphys upgrades it,
Oh, the dimensional thing?
yeah, there's a dimensional box, and that hooks up to your box.
I saw that once.
and then
Oh.
sorry, so that's why there are no
it's
more
at the top of your
boxes.
inventory?
It's under cell where like your phone numbers are.
Oh.
You gotta.
You're right.
stop
I looked at that once. Okay.
Otherwise, you're like, wow, why are no more boxes appearing? This is so annoying.
I
And it's
backtracked
just,
a lot.
don't worry, Chris probably backtracked more with what I made him do.
Good. I'll say my favorite character is still probably Papyrus. But Undyne really strengthens her character during Alphys's date. Undyne showing up in the garbage dump, listening to Alphys bare her soul about how the latter was lying to the former in order to make Undyne think Alphys was cooler than she really was or whatever, just like insecurities and stuff. And Undyne gently pats her on the head. And then Undyne picks Alphys up and Steph Curry's her into a trash can with an added basketball hoop from out of nowhere. And Undyne says to the effect of, what you say doesn't matter to me. It's all nerdy crap. What I care about is you are passionate 100% at maximum power, which is how I feel about Chris's interests. But Undyne, she is the best friend, ally, whatever you want to call it. And her outfit in the dumpster scene, I was like, damn, she kind of bad. This fish monster. So yeah, Heath is playing through Undertale at a very sensitive time. Think back to like Chris's virgin playthrough with Persona 5. I'm looking at Undertale's friendship simulator in a different light. Like during the true ending, let's just skip to that because it's important, where you are calling out to the memories of your friends and they're being positive about your capacity and your determination to beat this godlike enemy force. I was moved by it a lot more than I thought I was gonna be. Undertale, before I played it, was just like a cultural touchstone, a lot of humor, and a lot of edgy pomp and circumstance. It was like a rite of passage if you wanted to be a true gamer in the mid-2010s. If I worked at IGN and they were looking for a quote for me to put on the back of the box, I would say this: Undertale, it's subversive, it's sadistic, it's self-care.
I played this game for the first time when I was in a not so good place, and I remember being extremely moved by the true ending. When your heart breaks apart for the first time in that final fight, and then it comes back together, and then it pops up by saying, "But it refused." That line gets me every time. I don't know why. I'm just like, this game is so good.
Even if it were not as good mechanically,
right?
Let's say, it's still the strongest recommend.
Yeah. The emotional core of this game is so
I was
strong.
literally going to say emotional core.
I think a lot of people do the same as you, Heath, where they're like, oh yeah, Undertale's really quirky and really funny and so subversive. And they miss the fact that this game at its heart is an earnest message about believing in yourself and friendship, which sounds really cheesy, but it really gets to you. And he kind of like sneaks it in like a spoonful of sugar with the medicine that is love yourself.
It is a simple but important message, and it's conveyed, I'm going to say, masterfully. And you need to put in the legwork and the effort to earn that message through the gameplay of the game. And that's why I can say without a shred of doubt, I love reading and experiencing a lot of what Undertale has to say.
Here's the haterade.
All right, yeah. Love reading Undertale. Not convinced I ever loved playing Undertale. At the best, I eventually grew to tolerate playing Undertale, which is why I was stirring up a possible criticism of, would Undertale work better as a visual novel where during the big climactic boss fight scenes, you inject some interactivity there?
Okay, but I like the combat of Undertale. I think it's fun.
Dude, Metaton disco ball changing the color of the lasers?
That's the best one.
It's so fun.
Right. I keep
You feel like you're dancing.
Yeah.
keep the showpieces. Those boss fights, keep them in the visual novel. Cut out all the chaff, random encounter battle bullshit.
That just
What are you
sounds
talking about?
like you're bad at the game.
Random encounter bullshit.
So
That's the only reason you meet Aaron and Shiran and Naps to Bluke.
You're telling me to delete Nabs to Bluke? I won't do it.
They're like, what is this ghost music? And they creeped out.
I said I was workshopping this visual novel criticism of it should have trimmed some chaff, and I have to walk it back because I think the game would lose some critical DNA.
The whole point of the pacifist route is that it's more inconvenient to figure out how to get around everybody's special little quirk, and you're making that sacrifice because you are a good person who doesn't want to hurt anyone.
It sounds crazy, but that inconvenience is necessary. And that's why it won't work as a visual novel.
Yeah.
The early hours dragged on me the most with the combat. I think it's more frequent when you're going through the ruins in the Snowden area.
The ruins is probably, I think, Chris, you're right. It is a little slow. I've tried to introduce Undertale to one person, and I just had them play the ruins, and they dropped it.
Yeah. It was at risk of being dropped when I walked out of the ruins.
Yes. And then you see everything else the game has to offer, and you're like, oh. You're like, this is a whole new world.
So, Chris, the amalgamates, Alphys's lab.
I think that's actually some pretty good payoff.
Chris wasn't searching for encounters or for lore. He was just like walking around the room in the beat to the music because he was enjoying it so much.
I enjoy the way when you encounter the amalgamations, that's mechanics intersecting with the narrative. In a sense, you have to remember how to remind this blob of who it used to be based on what you experienced in the past.
You're like, that blob kind of looks like Shyren, and she liked it when I hummed at her. I wonder what'll happen if I hum at this monster. And it's like, I remember. It's cute. I like it.
Yeah.
My criticism of the run-of-the-mill normal encounters in Undertale is I think they rely too heavily on trial and error. There's not a lot of interesting decisions being made. It's basically like try a couple options, take an educated guess on what this monster might like, but ultimately you don't really know how to appeal to it. You eventually learn just through raw repetition. You remember that, you repeat it.
Motherfucker, how'd you learn how Pokemon types work?
Chris famously hates Pokemon.
Yeah.
You could check a monster, and that will give you a strong lead.
Okay.
And since there are only usually like 3 options for acting, even if you are trial and erroring, I don't think it's that big of an ask. Because, okay, let's say you run into Frogget. The first time, maybe you hit the wrong button. But the next time you run into Frogget, you know to compliment and move on.
Right.
Yeah.
You know that you compliment and move on. I'm asking, where is the decision there? There's no interesting decisions in the combat.
Well,
You could fight 'em.
there's no interesting decisions once you know how to beat Outer Wilds.
Sure.
Doesn't
but
make Outer Wilds not the greatest game ever.
by the time you've beaten Outer Wilds, you're not playing Outer Wilds.
That's untrue of Undertale?
Right. Your random encounters force you to repeat this content over and over
They're
again.
not. It's not the wild grass, my guy.
It's not like there's a ton of repeat encounters. You're not fighting Frogget 10 times. You're fighting Frogget probably 2 times, maybe
Okay.
3. It's like, you're like, oh, the repeat is bad. And it's like, yeah, the repeat happens maybe once.
Right. I'm saying the repeat is bad, and the initial trial and error, just, I guess, mash different options till you figure it out, is also bad.
Well, that's why you check.
Okay.
That's how you understand a person that you've never met before, too. It's just trial and error.
Chris, it's the lore of the game.
Do you
that makes
like
sense.
anime?
Chris also fell in love with Undyne at the same scene you were gassing her up for, but for different reasons.
Oh, yeah. Any girl who asks me, is anime real, I'm going to look favorably upon. I fell in love with Undyne during her date, so even earlier in the game.
Best date, in my opinion.
The humor in Undertale, I think it works really well so much of the time. I think the funniest moment, Papyrus walks you into Undyne's house to meet her, and he's trying to like cut the tension after you just had a life or death encounter with her. And when Papyrus says, well, you know, I gotta use the restroom, I'll just see myself out real quick, and he somersaults through the window.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud. It was
glass.
so funny.
Yeah.
And then, like, minutes later, when Undyne's like, yeah, get out of my house, Papyrus is like, oh, Undyne's not up to the challenge of being your friend. It's great. Papyrus is so good.
Everything they say is true to their character.
Yeah.
It's so well written.
It's so well written.
I have a nitpick. The humor is a huge plus. I laughed out loud several times. It's doing so much better than so many other games. I think the game, however, is occasionally guilty on the comedy side of dipping into the LOL so random type of joke that is not to my taste.
It was more popular at the time of this game's release, and it's not so aggressive.
2 examples come to mind, and I guess that's not so many to be egregious.
What, you're carrying too many dogs?
The dog residue was like, oh, this dog, blah, blah, blah. Temmie Village is just kind of, oh, isn't it quirky? They're all saying Temmie.
No.
No? That works for you? Okay.
One of them says, hi, I'm Bob.
Chris, I think that is a valid criticism of Undertale.
It's not egregious, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
For the time it came out in, it could have been so much worse.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
Maybe it just dates it slightly.
I feel like Deltarune, having played some of it, doesn't have as much of that problem.
Cool.
I feel like it's tempered down.
Love it.
Yeah.
So, it's still April. I'm not allowed to play Deltarune yet. I don't want to play Genocide Route.
Right.
No one at this table is going to encourage you to play it.
I like the characters enough that doing so feels more laborious.
Yeah.
Even though moments like Sans and moments like Monster Kid, that's an excellent moment.
Yeah.
I feel like I could just appreciate them from afar.
Heath, I totally agree with you. The whole point of Undertale is it's selling you on not doing the genocide route. When I referenced making Chris backtrack quite a bit, if you go back all the way back to the starting room after the final fight in the Paspis route, you can talk to Azrael a bit more, and he'll tell you some stuff about him and his feelings and a little bit about the original human who fell. And it's really good. Chris said it was worth it. Not by a lot, but it was worth it.
Marginally worth it.
Because you can boat to Snowden, but then you got to walk all the way through the ruins. All the way through.
Okay.
It's a little brutal.
All right.
On your regular route playthrough, after Flowey fight
Photoshop Flowey.
After Photoshop Flowey's done, did you kill him or did you mercy him?
Oh, you know I did.
You killed him? Okay.
I mercied Flowey.
Good.
Despite his best efforts.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good moment in the game is choosing to mercy him because it doesn't make a difference. You can kill him. It's fine. So it's a true choice in the fact that it's not going to matter what you do. It only matters to you. I just love this game so much.
I've maybe been the most negative one on the show about it, but I did come around more on Undertale.
If it's less than an 8 out of 10 in your book, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's at least 8.5. It was underranked on our top 100 games list.
Yes, I know that.
Where did it end up?
I think I had it in the 90s somewhere.
He had it at rank 98.
On your personal 100s list, it was 98?
That's right.
Buddy.
I feel like he put some crazy stuff above it.
Yeah, absolute
Probably
trash.
like Steam World Heist,
What
baby.
about, like, what's the Sam Thunder and Lightning game you guys always talk
Pajama
about?
Sam, Thunder and Lightning aren't so frightening.
That
I
might have
put
been
that
in the
40s.
Yeah.
That wasn't on my list.
That was on Heath's list.
Don't lay that at my feet.
Hey, that's still a good game.
I will say, I'll just put a few more points of praise for Undertale. I do like how it subverts a lot of RPG tropes. The reveal of what the acronyms of XP level actually stand for at the end.
I think it's a clever inversion.
That's taking
of
tropes
expectations.
of terms you've seen in every RPG and recontextualizing them, and they weren't what you thought they were the whole time. And just lastly, in a game with such minimalist presentation and no big budget and such, I'll say crude art, but I don't mean it in a negative way, that doesn't prevent the game from imbuing these characters with so much personality. The presentation, it shows what the strength of compelling writing can do for what would normally be such a Spartan presentation style. It doesn't matter. They're still as lifelike as photorealistic Cloud from Final Fantasy VII in my mind. And that's a testament to the game's artistry in general.
So, when was the last time you guys been to Disney World or Universal Studios?
Probably like 4 years ago.
Since then, Mario World was added to Universal Studios. The moment has passed. If this were going to happen, it would need to be much, much bigger. But Samantha, as theme park exec, do you make the Undertale ride in Universal Studios, do you make the roller coaster car that you ride in a big heart? Or do you make it the boat with the little dog legs?
The boat, of course.
You make it the boat. Okay,
Yeah.
so it is water based. Like it's like a Pirates of the Caribbean water ride.
I don't know that has to be a water ride. Maybe it can just
Or just on
look
rails.
like water.
That's the issue is probably going to be a boat, but it needs to be fast. Also, children will scream on this ride. I almost think it should be like 14 and up.
I think, okay, so there's one ride I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to explain why. There's a mummy ride at Universal Studios, and part of this ride is that you'll get to what you think is the end, and you'll see like a little booth, and it lights up, and there's a silhouette, and the guy says, "Thank you for enjoying the ride," blah, 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 blah. Like, end of ride dialogue.
Yeah, this is
and
a mummy
then
ride.
he says, just kidding. And then the ride starts up again with no warning. That's some Undertale ride shit right there.
I love that.
It's great.
Underrated. I hope that's still around.
I think so.
The reason I asked like how recent it was, Chris has never been to Disney World.
That's right.
He's been to Seabreeze.
Buddy, they've added tech.
Chris, I feel like we're just throwing words at you because I don't want to say this in like a mean way, but I don't think you've ever been on like a quality dark ride before. So you're just like, yeah, I'll ride in a cart and there will be things on the walls. It's fine. And we're like, no, that's not it at all. They're so much better than that.
Yeah, this is a little outside of my wheelhouse.
It's falling on deaf ears, and
Yeah.
and a part of me was thinking like, oh, we gotta. If I'm gonna appeal to Chris, I gotta make it actually so you can control a heart, almost like maybe 3D glasses.
Oh, come on. They have like the Spider-Man ride.
That's
Yeah.
similar, and so is like the Toy Story
The
one.
Buzz Lightyear shooty shoot.
Yeah.
You could just project a heart and dodge.
But how do you make it so it's like geared for gameplay, but then also at the very end when we have to play Megalovania, it is like hair blowing back, like high octane.
I think most techno where you're doing interacting with the ride, you're shooting.
Yeah.
I think Undertale needs to be a dodge. So like you point at the wall,
Yeah.
but you're pointing away from the things. So that's when Megalovania hits hard because you're trying to dodge for your life, but you can't fucking do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you obviously you don't die. It's just if you touch a projectile, it turns yellow like it does in the credits. And then the leaderboard at the very end.
Is like least number of points.
Right.
Because it's Undertale. Yeah. I feel like streamers would love that because they would try to no-hit the Undertale ride.
Babies will cry. It will be screaming coming from the Undertale booth. Those were my thoughts at the end of the game.
That's crazy that your head went there, of all places.
No, just because I want more content, and I feel like the game is done. You would never make an Undertale 2. It's called Deltarune.
It's called Deltarune.
What are you going to say?
I was just going to say one final criticism for Undertale, which neither of you mentioned, which is at the end of game pacifist powwow. Why isn't Metaton there? I want to say goodbye to him. He's as much my friend as Alphys is. He's a cool guy. Why isn't he there?
Yeah, you're right. The last time you see it, his leg is baiting Undyne and Alphys to kiss.
Let me say goodbye to the robot, Toby Fox. So that's...
oh, you're right, because you can't even prestige tour back to the arena.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I understand.
It's a crime, and I've thought this since I played it for the first time.
He should be in his dress at the Romeo and Juliet set.
Yeah.
And have one more musical number.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it almost seems like a strange oversight.
I think he couldn't work around the fact that Metaton was like canonically kind of broken. So that's why you only see the leg.
Okay.
That's why he needed to revert back to the box to recharge or something.
Yeah, I don't care, Toby. Just write a sentence. I do not care. I'm not worried about the mechanics of it. Give me the robot to say goodbye to. He was my friend. That's my biggest criticism of Undertale.
That's your biggest criticism of Undertale? All right.
Her biggest criticism was there wasn't enough.
Yeah. Well, that's why I played Deltarune. And this right here is proof that you can date a guy and fix him. Because when I met Chris and I told him Undertale was one of my favorite games, he was like...
I was like, banging soundtrack. Not sure about that game, though.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I didn't really like it. I was like,
Wow.
I don't think that's true, bud.
I would have said the same about Nier.
There we go.
With that, we'll take a break and we'll come back with emails and discussion and all that. See you then. And we're back. I thought we'd kick things off with an email. It's been a long time since we've received one. If you, listener, are interested in writing in and being on the show, you can send us an email at mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com.
That's Mobius Tubes at podcast. Oh, I messed it up. That's Mobius Tubes podcast @gmail.com. Hopefully your email is better than this one. Do I know the author?
Yeah.
So I could just shit on them.
We've already named them they've come up on the show already. This is from friend of the show, Janice.
Yay!
In order to address this email, we have to cast our minds back 2 or 3 episodes to our big "What is the best year in gaming" battle bracket.
Oh.
While we were discussing and debating which years should appear on the finalists, Heath, you mentioned a possible snub. You mentioned you were a fan of the year 2009, which did not appear in our bracket.
I thought, wow, we're really ignoring Minecraft, but you said that Minecraft came out much earlier.
So
Or 2011, it came out much later.
We have a listener who agrees with you, and I'll dive into Janice's email.
I love this email.
I'll dive into this email now. Janice says 2009 deserved to be on the short list, and admittedly lose in the first round because the rest of the year was relatively weak.
What a good take.
He thinks 2009 should have won just on Minecraft and League of Legends alone. The designation of GTA 5 as an institution, but minimal mention of the fact...
He's talking about 2013 now?
Right. We called attention to how GTA Online has been like this institution lasting over a decade and how it should get credit for that. But Janice says the minimal mention of the fact that 2 of the top 3 most culturally important games of all of the 2000s came out in the same year is criminal. He's referring to
Minecraft
2009.
and League.
The year of the best-selling video game of all time and the biggest esport title of all time being a nothing burger is cultural elitism that needs to stop. I'd also argue that 2023 and 2024 should have been left out because of recency bias and speculation alone.
Yeah, I agree with that, Janice.
He goes on to say, also, no mention of FIFA 2012 for 2011 was weird, and I care about FIFA as much as you guys care about League of Legends. and lastly...
I'll say that FIFA 2012, I recognize the box art more.
Okay.
But our bracket wasn't most impactful year in gaming. It was best.
Let Janice finish.
All right, Janice.
I wouldn't be as upset at the omissions if this was a purely personal ranking tier list. But you guys talked about Team Fortress 2s, the Among Us's, the CODs, and years where you didn't play any of the games. Like, who gives a fuck about GoldenEye? So the omission is jarring. I agree with you there, Janice. Who does give a fuck about GoldenEye? Okay, so that's what Janice had to say.
I'm feeling good because I'm validated.
My rebuttal, if I have one for Janice, is reading the first sentence of Minecraft's Wikipedia article, which is, Minecraft is a 2011 sandbox game developed and published by Swedish game studio Mojang. And that came up on the show. 2011 did so well, in part of we were attributing Minecraft to it.
And if you're like, but League, very important game. Yeah, but is it important in a healthy way for its users? Or is it important like the COVID pandemic was important to history?
League of Legends is huge. For me personally, the fact that it came out in 2009 counts against 2009.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. Sorry, Janice.
Sorry, Jess, that's harsh.
Why the sick burn? Hold on. You're making a goof, aren't you?
It was mostly a goof.
Yeah.
I just couldn't resist.
League can be harmful to young men.
The guy I work with, the one that didn't spoil Danganronpa, plays League. Or used to. I feel like a lot more used tos than current.
Addiction recovery is getting better.
Yes. Call this number.
If I'm being more serious and not making fun of Janice, League of Legends is a huge feather in the cap of 2009. He does admit the rest of the year is relatively weak. It didn't chart because we're disregarding half of your argument, Janice. We're attributing Minecraft to 2011.
So Minecraft...
It was circulating in a pre-release alpha form as early as 2009, but we care about its release date.
You're right, Chris. Persona 5 came out in 2017. Try again next time, Janice.
Just to address some more points Janice raises, I will say 2024, yeah, that was some recency bias getting it on the list. I don't think that will age well.
Other co-hosts made mention of that. And then Chris was like, well, you pick a different year. And then I didn't want to.
I will push back a little and say I think 2023 will be vindicated as belonging somewhere on that list. I'll make that claim.
List of what? The top,
of our 16 nominees.
Top 16 years
I
of all
think
time?
2023 was pretty strong. 2024, no.
So I'll half agree with you there, Janice. I thought his random call out for FIFA 2012 was interesting. This could be, I'll admit this is ignorance on my part. I kind of just view all FIFA game releases homogeneously. What would happen with the 2012 version of FIFA?
I don't know.
That bears mention.
Best-selling FIFA game is FIFA 18, sold 26 million units.
Was FIFA 12
FIFA
like
12
best?
sold 10 million units. That's half.
I did see it had very good review scores.
Maybe the soccer was like really good in that one.
That could just be a big blind spot on my part. I have no idea why FIFA 2012 needs to be raised up above the others.
I know Madden 08 was the best Madden.
Okay. From personal experience? Or?
Yeah, me and
Okay.
Scott the Waz agree. Okay. It was the only Madden I ever owned.
Wow.
on the Wii.
I don't know if we have any listeners who care about FIFA because they wouldn't listen to us.
Well, clearly one.
Clearly won.
Clearly one.
So thank you for your feedback, Janice. You raised some good points. And I hope our answers haven't upset you further.
We probably missed Minecraft in 2011 because we all care about it not very much.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge part of 2011 that we talked about. We mentioned it and then moved on.
Yeah.
I care about Minecraft more than I care about League.
Well, yeah, of course. I'll make my disdain for League clear.
And that's the end of the email section.
Thank you for that email, writer.
Thanks, Janice.
Please send us more.
Good email.
All right, then we'll move on to the final segment of this show. Just as a fun little exercise, all of us have been brainstorming video game themed would you rather questions.
I have 14.
I have
Oh
two.
my God. I have like 6 or 7.
But mine are lightning style. You just,
Okay.
I'll read them and you'll answer them as fast as I read them.
So this will just be for fun. We're going to round robin style. Heath, why don't you kick us off with a would you rather question we're all going to attempt to answer?
Would you rather play with a lumpy analog stick or a trackpad?
Dude, I kid you not. That was on my list somewhere. I think instead of lumpy, I said Joy-Con drift, stick drift.
Sure.
Ugh.
Okay.
I thought that would be too damning.
Okay. Lumpy is well worn.
I'll
like very-
bring you my left Joy-Con.
Okay.
As someone who's played with both, the lumpy stick is better for gaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I lean towards the lumpy stick.
Trackpad is unreliable.
It's tough to say. I played through all of Automata with a lumpy stick. But I also have 1,000 hours of Civilization 5 on a trackpad.
Oh,
My right index finger could move mountains.
you're fluent.
I do that, but with The Sims.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I've done
You
it.
learn to get through it.
Yeah. You see past it.
I would rather play with a trackpad.
Okay.
I'll be the contrarian.
I would, except I've been playing another game recently where I was like, oh, I don't want to get my mouse. I'll just use the trackpad. And I was like, this is unplayable.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Samantha, just to humor me, same question. Does your answer change if we switch lumpy stick for mild stick drift?
I don't know. It depends on the game at that point. Stick drift
True.
is so bad.
That's more intolerable for Heath.
Yeah.
Right. Which makes it a harder question, perhaps.
Yeah. It would depend on the game. That's how my
Oh,
answer.
no, it makes it easier for you.
Easy for Heath.
Yeah, you just double down on the trackpad.
do.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I think that pushes me over the edge to join Heath in trackpad land.
Ooh, you know
All
what?
right.
You know how I would draw the line though? I think younger listeners will have no idea what I'm talking about. You know the little red dot in the keyboard between the keys G and H?
Oh,
Hell yeah,
God.
dude. That nub.
That little red nub that controls the cursor? Like, it's smaller than your fingertip.
I associate that with like ThinkPad
Yes.
laptops.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Intel ThinkPads.
You're going to game on the little red nub?
Could you imagine? I would rather play with immense drift.
I would
than
rather
play with
not
that.
play.
Yeah, I'd rather go outside.
Yeah. I'm going to touch grass at that point. Yeah. God.
That's how I take it up a notch for the trackpad.
Heath, why don't you tee up another one?
This one's pretty tame. Fully voiced Yakuza or performance boosted Zelda?
I see. Is this all Zelda games or one in particular?
This is, you can make of it whatever you will.
And Heath is calling attention to in Yakuza games, while there is a lot of voice acting, I'd say there's like 40 to 50% of the game that is just Undertale tones for text. Okay. As someone who cares the most about Yakuza,
I vote for Zelda because I'd be skipping past some of that fully voice acted dialogue and I'd feel bad about it.
You end up skipping past an important section of dialogue, and Majima is missing from the party. He's like Falstaff or whatever, whatever. False.
Basalt. Yeah. Crud.
What were you trying to say?
I'm habituated already to not expecting full voice acting. I would view that extra voice acting as like gravy I don't need, where I need that performance boost. So give me that Zelda frames.
I would much rather. I can live with Zelda as it is. I would need full voicing in English.
I can also live with Zelda as it is. It's just the better option.
Okay,
For me.
I'm the contrarian.
Yeah. Sorry.
Let's do one more to yours.
Okay, hey, this is specifically for Samantha. Would you rather play Neon White or a Cabela's game?
What are those?
Neon White is probably the fastest 3D platformer outside of Mirror's Edge.
It's a game almost built around speed running with a weird anime plot.
Okay.
But 3D speedrunning.
3D speedrunning, yeah.
And it's got
Okay.
cards.
Yeah, cards, that's a plus for her.
It is. Yeah.
What's the other game?
Cabela's?
What is it?
It's a hunting game.
Hunting game.
I gotta go with Neon White. It's not even close.
Yeah, this is the lesser of two evils for you.
Yeah. I mean, I just won't finish it. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you for those, Heath.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll hop in with one I came up with. All right. For the rest of your life, would you rather only play games that already exist or only have access to future games that have yet to release?
Oh, okay.
That's similar
you
to
are-
a question I'm asking, but
You're
I'll ask it
committing
anyway.
to the past or the future.
So I'm 29.
And the cutoff date is today, April 27th, 2025.
Bro.
Well, then I'm doing future games because Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 aren't out yet.
good joke. I'm doing it before because Bellator's already come out.
Oh shit! That'll
No, I'm
last
just
you.
doing that because you're being so facetious. Yeah, it has to be after.
I'm in agreement. It has to be after.
Because in my lifetime, my favorite game hasn't come out yet, which is crazy to think about.
You're taking that bet, right? And you
have to.
have reasonable odds.
The Sims 5 will come out any day now. I'm fine.
This was a tricky question to me because, of course, if you don't pick before, you know exactly what you're losing access to. The pain is very explicit, where you're banking on future unknowns, which will assuredly be out there and good. So yeah, I have to also choose the future.
That's true of TV and movies and probably music. No, music's getting worse. I'll stick with every song that's ever come out so far.
I cringe internally when I think I can never play a Dishonored game again. I'll never get to try Baldur's Gate 3, but assuredly there's a
But-
lot of good stuff coming.
You'll play Baldur's Gate 4, which is even better.
Probably.
Gosh, I can't. That title and Banner Saga just occupy the same neuron. I keep
Understandably.
All right, we all agreed it's the future. Does your answer change if we move the cutoff date to be more of your midlife? So let's assume we're all in our 20s right now, late 20s, so we've got a lot of life left. What if the cutoff date was as soon as we turn 45, we lose access to everything that's come out and we have to bank on the future? That's harder, right? That's half of our life gone.
Chris is such a capital G gamer that he's thinking beyond age 45, he's still going to be clocking like 700 hours of gaming per year.
My eyesight is already bad. It's not getting better.
But it's got a bigger screen. It'll be
Large print games. Yeah.
fine. There's also you have to run some ROI stuff like, I mean, how long am I going to live?
Oh, I'm like much longer than even I think. I'm going to live way too long.
Okay. Because of all the advancement in medicine.
You said 50?
45 was my arbitrary
Still after.
mid-year date.
Still after.
Yeah, I still pick the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I'd know the date was coming, right? So I could just knock off all the heavy hitters. I won't wait to play The Witcher 3 now.
Plus, the Experience Machine is a launch title for. I'm not even going to finish that sentence. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
all you need.
Samantha, do you want to tell us a question you cooked up?
Oh, sure. I
Yay.
hope mine are okay. Okay, here's my would you rather. For the rest of your life, would you rather play only games available on the Switch or, but you can play them on any console you want. So, Chris, you can play them on your big TV, you can play them on your computer. They're available everywhere.
But there's Switch.
Oh, sorry.
games.
Titles. Nintendo titles.
Like, well, any game that currently right now can be played on the Switch, you can play it anywhere.
Okay.
But those are the only games you can
Right.
play.
You only have the Switch library, even if you aren't necessarily playing them on the Switch.
Right.
Would you rather
Steam-
be a Nintendo baby?
Or you can play any game you want, but you must play it on the Nintendo Switch in handheld mode.
In handheld mode?
My smile widened so fast.
I just saw Chris go through the 5 stages of grief.
What a well done. This is
you.
your debut question. This is bodes so well for this
That's why I only
segment.
have 2.
This one feels targeted at me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, handheld.
Yeah. I figured you'd go. That would be simple for you.
And this is in perpetuity, right?
Yep.
Nintendo games in perpetuity.
So I'm neutering my ability to experience new games.
Yeah.
Or I'm neutering the performance of said games.
Yeah. You're playing Cyberpunk on the Switch.
All right, here's a question, Samantha. It was a hypothetical 2033 game Chris is really excited to play.
Yeah. It's
There's-
magically backwards compatible.
Okay, that's my question. Will those games even be physically able to run on the Switch? I'll be locked out of them anyway. That thing won't be able to run it.
They're going to run, but they're going to run like they should run.
Okay.
Ooh.
It's going to be pixels.
Ooh, that is
a
limiting.
slideshow.
Okay.
That's so limiting. Well, oh my gosh. Yeah, because I wouldn't take this deal. Maybe if I was like, what's an early console? Yeah, just like the Game Boy, I guess.
Sure.
I wouldn't take this deal if it were the Game Boy back in 1996 or whatever.
Sure, but computer progress is slowing down.
I suppose I have to play games on the Switch because I'm going to exhaust the Switch library someday.
Yeah.
No, she means not the Switch library.
Nope, the Switch library.
Oh.
Yeah. And not just Nintendo
Not
games.
Nintendo's indefinitely?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah,
Switch
then
library.
play on the Switch.
It hurts me so bad, but
I just wanted to see you in pain.
that's my answer.
That's why I wrote this question.
Oh, the longer you think about it, the more limiting it gets.
As soon as I'm locked into this reality, I'm pulling up footage of what Witcher 3 looks like running on Switch and then cringing as I imagine what Witcher 4 is going to look like on the Switch. Yeah. It's going to be an absolute PowerPoint presentation.
What a delightful
Yeah.
would you rather?
You were just praying that like somehow John Romero comes out of retirement and is able to optimize some sort of engine
Right.
that can reverse time.
All right,
Great
Heath,
question.
lay another one on us.
No, we should save me for the very last.
Oh. Okay, Chris, back to you.
All right, if you say so.
Yeah. I don't think my next one's very good.
All right. From here on out, would you rather be forced to play all games one difficulty setting above normal or one difficulty setting below normal?
Oh, this is trivial.
Yeah. I feel like it's a rare time where I'm like, I want this game to be harder. I'll take it easy.
You'll take it easy.
Unless it's like a
I'll say
strategy game.
For games that lack difficulty settings, like Outer Wilds per se, it would be unaffected.
Of course.
Oh, it's even more generous.
Oh yeah, easy Outer Wilds, unplayable.
You said this was trivial, Heath. What's your answer?
Play it on hard.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have to agree with you.
Oh.
There's definitely instances where this will bite me in the ass. I play the Yakuza games for the plot. If I play them on hard, it's just going to be a less enjoyable experience. But I think of all the instances of like the joy of playing Devil May Cry, for example, a character action game, where if the game is on easy and the enemies perish more quickly, you lose the ability to do any sort of flashy combo.
You
They'll
rob
die.
yourself
Right.
of the experience.
The game evaporates in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
I just don't like combat as much as you guys do. So that doesn't I don't care.
It's not. It doesn't have to do with combat.
Yeah.
If you're playing Into the Breach on easy,
And
why are you playing Into the Breach?
Yeah, every move is a cakewalk.
Oh no. Yeah, that makes Into the Breach. This is why I said strategy games were my one exception.
Vec takes a swipe at a building. It's like a coin flip, maybe even more generous than that.
No.
You have 3 strikes and you're out.
Actually, you know what? I will pick hard and I just won't play games that it's too hard to play. Yeah, that's fine.
That's the caveat, but I've tried to imagine like picking up a Call of Duty and no,
Chris,
the
I
the
worry
grind is more worth it.
I'm going to get locked out of playing Hades by picking
Right.
hard.
There's this is the thing where, all right, is it worth being locked out of some games to not rob yourself of the intended experience of
Because
others?
I'm equivalently locked out of Into the Breach, and I care about playing Into the Breach more than I care about playing Hades. So you're right. I go hard. Sorry.
Okay.
You are putting so much authority on the fact that you will never achieve skill level.
I don't have good reflexes, and I've played games for a long time since I was a kid. I'm not going to suddenly develop them. You know, I'm at where I'm at.
If just, it sounds like a lot of your decision is based on your playing of Hades. I don't think Hades has difficulty settings.
It's just any game where it's quick time combat
Okay.
is necessary for me to win.
Right.
That's going to be a struggle for me.
Now, just take note. I didn't say the hardest difficulty setting. I just said one notch above normal.
Yeah, but for a lot of games, that's the same thing. But yeah, Fire Emblem on normal is boring after the first time you do it. So hard it is. Can I go harder?
What? What?
I suppose.
Okay. Just some games you like to play on the highest level for fun. For strategy games, not combat games, strategy games. It's
Okay.
different.
I'm hard pressed to think of. Anyway.
Who has
Managing
a
mode is the only way to play Fire Emblem.
Who has
What?
a new would you rather question?
Wait, you keep going because you have more questions to me.
All right.
I'll do one after this one.
Okay. From here on out, would you rather be forced to play every side quest a game offers or none of them?
Every.
Okay, me too. I
Yeah.
guess that was an easy one.
I played every side quest in Breath of the Wild of my own volition.
I guess that would be so untrue of like live service games, maybe.
I'm getting real sweaty when I think about replaying any of the Batman Arkham games. All those Riddler trophies.
Chris,
Yes,
every
yeah.
Yakuza game takes you
Oh,
100
no.
in-game
That's
hours.
actually a big counterexample. I would
It's-
not be able to play Yakuza anymore.
No, you couldn't.
There were a few games with infinite side quests. I think
Okay.
Fallout 4 is like, we have a settlement that needs your help. And it just auto-populates after a timer.
Yeah, they're procedural.
That would kill me.
Maybe we
but
draw an
by
exception.
and large, I think these authored experiences have worthy enough side quests to do everyone.
Chris, you played all the Final Fantasy VII remake side quests, and you didn't even like those. You thought
Yeah.
they were bad.
I sure did do that.
Yeah.
Isn't Honeybee in a side quest?
No, that's main
main
quest.
quest.
Main quest.
All the good stuff about that game is main quest.
Huh.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'll do the next one, Chris.
Sure.
Would you rather only be able to play games that came out in the year that you currently live? So right now you could only play games that came out in 2025.
2025 games, okay.
And then like next year it would switch and you'd only be 2026.
So it's a limited time offer.
limited time offer.
Oh.
Or you can only play games that are 10 years old or older.
But you'll always have access to them.
Yes.
They become available in perpetuity on their 10th birthday.
Oh, so Chris will be able to play Persona 5 in a matter of years.
Yes. But he can't play it right now.
He can't play it right now.
Yeah.
No, I'll be at the on the edge of cultural.
Okay.
I'll
so
be the
your-
trendsetter.
Your current year.
Yeah,
Okay.
Really?
I think so.
Okay. That surprises me a little bit. This one's an easy old games for me, and I'm going to save so much money.
Then I have two separate follow-up
Okay,
questions.
my would you rather wallet is huge. So I
I have two separate follow-ups because you guys did different answers for some reason. Heath, what if I make it 5 years old or older?
The window
Or
shortens.
this one year?
I think it's too. I think the longer I think about it, it's kind of lopsided to just give the person the 1 year and it's new versus like a catalog of decades of games.
I was shocked by your answer.
well, okay. In my mind, it was like
Do you flip-flop?
maybe I flip flop. Yeah.
All right. Then what if I said 20 years old or older?
I want a quick counterpoint. Heaven forbid a game comes out on December 31st and you have 1 day to play it.
Exactly.
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Now, what if I make it either the year you are currently living in or 20 years old or
Okay.
older?
So if in this situation, I am soon going to have access to Shadow of the Colossus.
I was searching.
You can't play Skyrim yet, which is good because Elder Scrolls 7 is never coming out.
Oh,
Six
this
never
is so
coming out.
funny. You will soon be able to play Oblivion.
There you go.
So you can either play Oblivion or
Or Oblivion.
or Oblivion.
in a matter of years.
Dealer's choice.
Okay, this is a harder question.
Thank you. I knew that first one was going to be too easy for you, Chris. Even though you couldn't have played Persona.
Man, no one will ever want to talk about a game with me.
Well, that's why I kind
be
of
playing
jumped at being the cutting edge guy.
Like, how much do you value
Because
the...
Participating in the cultural moment of a game
Right.
versus participating in the game.
the zeitgeist?
Yeah. As podcasters, you guys clearly like participating in the cultural moment of the game a little bit.
Yeah, with you two.
Yeah.
I will only want to more as this show grows.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to pick the current year, but knowing I lose permanent access to a game is so painful. Can I get access to it again in like 30 years?
No.
This is akin to you can only listen to public domain music,
Oh,
which in present day would be trash. But in a matter of years, decades, it starts to be reasonable.
okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's are you about that long game?
I think I might still. I'm very unhappy, but I might pick the long game still.
My favorite questions are the ones that make Chris very unhappy.
Let's hear another question, Chris.
Oh, okay.
Of Would You Rather?
Okay. This question kind of gets at the heart of some incentives of why people play games we were just touching on. Okay. Which of these situations do you prefer? Would you rather always receive a free digital copy of any game you desire? It just appears in your account when you want to play it.
Great.
But you can no longer look up any assistance for the game on the internet. You try to search and it's blank.
Oh,
You cannot get help.
You are transported back to the early days.
Right. You are in. I suppose if you find a friend who played it, you can talk about it.
Thank God.
But the internet cannot help you at all.
What if I just happen to listen to a podcast?
Podcast? Also, I'm going to
unallowed.
Not allowed.
Fuck.
Wait,
If you
what
have
was
a
the other one?
real life friend who can help you, I suppose. For signing up for this no help, you get a free digital copy of any game you want whenever you want it.
Chris
Oh.
is just simulating like the 90s.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Through piracy.
Yeah. Piracy was cool back then.
Having no tips and tricks.
Yeah.
No tips and tricks, but it's any game I want at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
I
you
kind
don't
of
have to pay
have
for
that
it.
already with your Steam library.
Forget that. Yeah. Pretend you're normal.
Oh, no.
Versus what? It's
Or
easy
or
access.
the alternative is the status quo. You buy games normally, and you can search for help online.
Do I get to continue to have Steam access to your Steam library? Or are you like locking me out? It makes a big difference.
Chris,
You've essentially granted my wish without the caveat.
Try to divorce yourself from your current circumstances,
I
Samantha.
choose no internet. Because it's probably more of a benefit than it is a hindrance.
I'm with Heath. Also, I'm dating the equivalent to a billionaire in terms of games in the Steam library. So is Heath, I guess.
Okay. I think
Thanks, Daddy.
it was close. I think I do want that internet assistance.
Really?
Yeah.
But you're all about saving money.
I'm all about saving money. If you wait, if you're patient enough, the sales get deep enough.
Chris is an expert on how to buy a game for 50 cents. He doesn't need this. He's like, yeah, games cost me $10 a year.
I acquired my copy of Dredge through trading with a stranger on Facebook Messenger.
For free.
For a copy of Day of the Tentacle Remastered.
A shame you're never going to play that game now.
Yeah. He had a spare copy.
I have a wrinkle on this question. All right, same question. You can get free digital copy, but instead of losing access to the internet for assistance, you can no longer discuss the game with any other person.
That's damning.
Yeah, I status quo. Talking about games is like part of the fun.
Talking about games might even be more than the fun of the game.
That is how Heath participates in fun.
David Cage.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys.
Yeah.
I would not give up discussing the game.
That would only be true of like somebody playing League.
Yeah. Yeah. They would be like, okay.
They'd be like, I don't need to talk to anybody. I'm too busy in jungling.
That's the problem.
Please call this number.
If you're playing League and you're hearing this, please reach out to someone who loves you, and there are people that love you, I promise.
Yes, please.
Get help.
The help is available.
Yeah.
Heath, it's been a while since you treated us to a would you rather question.
Okay, yeah, here I go. It's time to play Dev Swap. Would you rather a Sonic game developed by Atlas or an Animal Crossing game developed by RGG?
This is catered towards my interests. Well, and not.
And not.
Sonic by Atlas, makers of Persona and Metaphor Refantasio, or Animal Crossing made by the Yakuza studio.
I'll try it. Ria ga Gotoku?
Yeah, Ryuga Gotoku.
I'm mashing that Animal Crossing button by the Yakuza guys. That would be amazing. I want that now.
It would still have like the sense of humor, kind of,
Yeah.
but then it might be like a little more gritty.
I just want the side quests that are just nonsense.
The island would be so dense.
Yes.
I am following Samantha's footsteps because they already did that with Dodoku Island and Infinite Wealth.
Yeah, but it's not a full Animal Crossing.
Right. They'll take what they learned and make it even better.
Yeah, they'll look at Animal Crossing and be like, that's kind of embarrassing.
All right, too easy. Moving on. The last one was Chris. This one's Samantha. Would you rather a Fire Emblem game by Telltale or an Elder Scrolls game by Chunsoft?
Oh, no. Oh, God. What do I have to do to get both?
Those both sound good.
Yes, I know. Oh, my God. Okay. I know how I'm going to choose this, and it's going to be purely by how long I think the game will be to extend my enjoyment. I think Telltale games aren't as long as Spike Chunsoft games, so I'm going for the Skyrim Spike Chunsoft game.
What was Telltale making? In
Fire Emblem game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to prolong my enjoyment of this activity.
I want to see what weird plots Chunsoft cooks up in the world of Tamriel, so I'll say that as well.
I can't wait for the Dragonborn to be a crazy anime girl with like unrealistic boobs. It's going to be amazing.
Say less. All right, moving on. A Dishonored game by Yoko Taro.
Oh, man.
Or a Witcher game by Toby Fox.
Both are so appealing.
Oh my God. Must be
What kind of production does Toby Fox have to work with? Or production budget?
It's like a CD Projekt budget.
Oh, okay. They gave him the keys to the kingdom. Ooh. Okay. I think the strength.
I think this one's easy.
I think the strengths of the Dishonored gameplay format don't mesh very well with the strengths of Yoko Taro games.
It's like mint and peanut butter.
Yeah, I will pick the alternative. I'll pick Toby Fox Witcher.
I'll play anything Toby Fox makes.
Easy. Yeah. Okay, last one of this dev swap segment. A Pokemon game by Supergiant or a Paper Mario game by Hideo Kojima.
Easy. I'm playing that Paper Mario game.
That one has to be so crazy. Yeah. But think about like what does Supergiant have that Pokemon does not? Interesting NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
The Pokemon mechanics would be just as good as they are.
They're bad.
What do you
Pokemon's boring.
different strokes.
Yeah.
See, he would say the same thing about Animal Crossing.
I'm trying to imagine Hideo Kojima's Paper Mario.
You can't.
It feels like oil and water. Like, how are you going to make Paper Mario seem pretentious? I don't know if you can do
What do
that.
you mean pretentious? Like, I mean, Paper Mario is already so story driven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the most dialogue story Mario game there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down.
Pokemon acts as too much of an anchor, I think. I choose Paper Mario Kojima.
Title mashups. It's like the same exact thing. I have more of these. Would you rather play Danganronpa the Diver or Love is All Around Automata?
Love is all automata.
I'll take the Danganronpa.
It's a murder mystery seaside fish game.
That's just Danganronpa too.
I wouldn't know.
I'll
fine.
finally diverge from Samantha. I would prefer to see what kind of existential themes those attractive Chinese women could present
Chris,
me with.
you're imagining this wrong. It's just Love is All Around, but you're romancing Tubi.
Oh, I'll take that as well.
I will.
Yeah.
We'll take that. Yep.
There you go.
Okay. Slay the Last of Us or the Oregon Trail 2077.
Oregon Trail 2077? It seems insane. I gotta find out.
Do you ford this cyber river?
This one I'm a little ambivalent on. I'll say Slay the Last of Us is my pick.
Okay, good. This one's to punish Chris. Would you rather play Grass Effect, which is just a farm life sim Mass Effect? You are on the Batarian homeworld and you are growing crops to trade during the events of Mass Effect 2. You don't see any of them. Or Predator. You play as all the enemies in Prey, a la Juliana from Deathloop.
Oh.
Oh.
Is it a multiplayer game or a single
Someone
player?
is playing Prey.
Okay. And you're just the
You are the mimics.
you're the coffee cup rolling around.
Yes.
I was the coffee cup rolling around in my version of Prey.
What?
Yeah. You can have alien powers.
Oh, I
Chris just didn't do it because he's achievement hunting.
Anyway,
interesting.
Yeah.
these are interesting options, Heath.
I like to think you could still romance aliens in Grass Effect. And the moral dilemmas are like, oh, do I plant sweet potato?
You're saying it's Stardew Valley, but set in Mass Effect first. I picked that. Stardew Valley's great. I love Stardew Valley.
I know it'd be easy for you.
Yeah.
If I play Grass Effect, Samantha, does that count as like my Stardew Valley getting out of the way?
Depends on how many characters you can romance.
Let's assume many.
As many as Mass Effect.
There needs to be more than that.
Okay.
Wow.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Moving on. Well, I mean, Chris, literally just say anything.
Yeah.
I'll do the Predator.
Great. Lego Immortality. or Crypt of the Obra Dinn.
I choose Lego Immortality. That sounds awesome.
I think that's the number of laughs per minute in Lego Immortality is enough that it wins. Have you played a Lego game before?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
It's Lego Star Wars.
Man, what would they be pantomiming in that game?
I want to see a Lego commit a murder.
Hitman of the Wild or LA Noire Miles Morales.
So like Hitman of the Wild.
He's disguising himself as a bokoblin.
I gotta play that.
What was the other option?
LA Noire Miles Morales. You are web swinging to the next detective scene.
I think
and the racial tensions, like Miles is like responding to these anachronistic characters with like, damn man, that's cold.
For that reason, I choose L.A. Miles Morales.
Great, moving on. Pepsi Man Stranding or Pentiment Theft Auto 6.
Heath, you've gone off the preserve. This is crazy.
I knew you'd love it and hate it. So Pepsi Man Stranding, you'd still have as much stuff on your back, but they're just cans. And then Pentiment Theft Auto 6. Describe what Pentiment was to Samantha.
It's a narrative-heavy mystery game set in like almost Renaissance times, I think.
Like Martin Luther, Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you're a printing press, like Gutenberg printing press.
Uh-huh.
And there's been a murder.
As the game goes on, you're able to decipher more texts.
I want to play this.
Yeah, I want to play it as well.
Oh, okay. But it's the slow mystery in the GTA verse.
What the hell is Pepsi Man Stranding?
It's like Death Stranding.
Uh-huh.
But you're Pepsi Man.
So you go really fast?
Imagine him just on the beach.
Him on the beach.
Chris, can we each pick a different one so I can
So they both can
watch
exist?
you?
The Pepsi Man music plays through the entire runtime.
Which
No.
which one of those would I rather play versus watch is the question.
I would rather watch you play Pepsi Man Stranding for like an hour.
And for that reason, I'll pick Pepsi Man Stranding.
Thank you for your service. I'll take the Pentiment one.
And the last one, Marvel Snap or Pokemon Snap.
Oh, I see what you did there.
So it's the photography game on rails, but it's Marvel characters.
Yeah.
Or the deck building 1v1s are with Pokemon.
Give me that abbreviated Pokemon Snap card game.
Same.
We like card games.
All right.
Well done, Heath. Wow, lots of creativity in that segment.
As soon as I started making them, I was like, we're never going to return to this. If I ever thought of any others in the future, we'd never do them. So I just had to get them all out.
Yeah.
I banked one or two questions. Maybe we could do this segment again. It seemed like a lot of fun.
Super.
And we're going to start to wind down this podcast now. Listeners, please send us emails at mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com.
That's mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com.
Let us know if you've pre-ordered a Switch 2, how that experience was. Things to look forward to. Next episode, going to be a little bit different. Going to have a heavy emphasis on board games, just for a one episode change of pace. Samantha and I have a game we're excited to talk about. We're just queuing it up for next episode. We've been playing some recent stuff. Expect some blueprints talk for next episode. The hot new puzzle game. Look forward to that.
That's so funny. Because you know who's in Deltarune? Lancer's a blueprint.
Oh, ha. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Blueprints is all over next episode of Mobius Tubes.
Yeah.
Can't avoid them.
I love Lancer.
And that'll do it. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.